My high school video is gonna be mad different from the others you've watched, because I went to an African all boys boarding school in the mountains, fam.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
So without further ado, the old looking one. They say puberty hits like a truck, but when it comes to this individual, puberty did to him what Breezy did to Rihanna. It obliterated him. Nah, but for real, I remember when I was in Form 1 or freshman year and being sat next to this homie called Joshua, and my first reaction was to laugh. Because what the hell is this old doing in high school? This man looks like he should be rejecting job applications at a Fortune 500 company farm, not learning chemistry. But after Joshua showed me his papers, turns out he was 14. And I was like, how? Joshua's 6 feet, had a full beard and chest hair at 14?
What is going on here?
And as if that wasn't enough, while the rest of us sounded like Alvin and the Chipmunks, he had the deepest voice in class. Bro sounded like Morgan Freeman. This one time we failed our math exam, so our teacher pulled up with 6 buns and burner pipes. Now, in case you don't know, these pipes are thicker than the average African dad's belt, so to say they hot would be an understatement, G. But before he began the violation, tell me why he goes, Mr. Joshua, please leave the room. Mr. Joshua? Bro, you're 37 calling a 14-year-old mister? And fam, that wasn't even the worst part. While we were getting our ass whooped for having C's, I checked Joshua's results and man's had a D- fam. The bully. My school had 2,000 boys in it, and I say this with zero exaggeration, fam, but it was survival for the fittest. So since the school food tasted like ass, we had a canteen that would sell us mandazis, bread, and sausages. Now, this one break during my first term, I was chilling in my dorm eating when the Form 4s pulled up and told me to go buy 10 mandazis and 2 loaves of bread. And I'm like, cool. So I stretch out my hand, and bro looks at me confused. He goes, what are you waiting for? A high five. No, bro, the money. That would cost at least 300. And before I could even finish, boom, right in the jaw. And like a good little boy, I went to that shop and got them the food. But just like America in the Middle East, he got greedy and kept doing it every day. At this point, I'm like, I can't take this shit no more, man. What am I, a single mom? I can't keep supporting this dumbass. So after planning it out, I said enough was enough. I was gonna fight back. Now, here's the thing. If you're squaring up against a larger opponent, you can't fight fair, bro. This is not anime. You will get dropped, fam. So, here's what I did. I bought the food as usual and walked into the dorm. And as soon as he stood up to take the food, I threw it in his face and decked him in the diaphragm. And like an OnlyFans girl in Dubai, he fell down to his knees. And fam, the legendary battle began. I must have landed 6 or 7 clean hits, but on the real, I still lost, fam. What? This man was like 15 foot 11 and I was 14, bro. This nigga is trash. Sure, I couldn't see out of my left eye for a week, but that was the price of victory, fam. Because it wasn't about whether I won or lost. It was about showing this dumbass that I was nobody's baba. And sure enough, he never bothered me again. The genius. Oh, yeah. I'd always had the saying, not all men are equal, but this was the guy that made me believe it, fam. Duncan was the smartest guy in our school and probably the smartest person I've ever met. Man's placed first in the entire school for every exam we ever did. But obviously, keeping the #1 crown would take mad effort, right? But that's where you'd be wrong, because bro treated his education the way black dads treat child support. He didn't care. Man's barely picked up a textbook after class and spent 90% of his time playing ball. But here's the moment I realized he was a genius. This one afternoon, I pulled up to ask him this math problem that I just couldn't seem to understand. Now, for context, I'm pretty good at math. Good enough that I represented our school in several contests. But as soon as I give Duncan the question, bro looks at it for 4 seconds and goes, the answer is 56.3. My brother, how? Mans then proceeds to explain to me in detail how we arrived at the answer. This man understood the subject so well that he even showed me different formulas, fam. Every time I understood one formula, he was like, another one. But here's the part that made me realize that he was truly one of a kind. He goes, everyone thinks math is about problems. They're wrong. You don't solve math. You surrender to it. The Riz Demon. Oh, yeah. When I was in my second year, my desk mate was smashing a teacher, fam. And not just any teacher, the thickest, most pink baddie at our school called Big Booty Judy. Nah, bro, she looked like Tyler too, proper light skin. So it all started as most things do, small. During the middle of our second term, we got this new English teacher called Judy. And fam, immediately we saw the whole class was thirstier than a Kardashian at an NBA draft. But I started noticing something between Amani and Judy. Every time she needed someone to read something, she'd pick him. Whenever we do exams, she'd always congratulate him for his grades. And that's when I started getting suspicious. One night, however, while we were doing our preps, a student pulls up telling us that Judy asked Amani to bring the assignments to the staff room so she can grade them. Amani stands up smiling, looks at me and goes,
"It's about to go down."
Now, I think he's joking. Sure, Judy likes him, but bro,
you're not that guy.
Weirdly though, Amani doesn't come back to class that day. I see bro the next day and he looks happier than a furry at the zoo during mating season. And if you didn't get that, good. Stay pure. I go, yo, what happened last night, G? And he goes, bro, the whole prep time I was raising up Judy and making her laugh. I'm gonna smash soon, bro. I can feel it. And after 2 weeks of this activity, Amani pulls up back to class one time and hands me a beer. Now, for him to get something like this in boarding is next to impossible, meaning someone got it for him. Amani turns to me and goes, from Judy, since you can keep a secret. And fam, I immediately down it.
But research, weren't you a teenager when all of this happened? That means you weren't old enough to do that.
Shut your
I couldn't believe it, bro. Me and Amani were giggling all night like,
we did it!
The beginning of the end began, however, when Amani started getting careless. He'd pull up to class with clear lipstick marks on his neck, smelling like perfume, and I kept telling bro to be careful, but he was like, chill. Yeah. Here's where I started hating though. Since Amani was barely in class during preps, I kept wondering how his grades kept improving, when it should have been the opposite. Damn, he's really out here getting the vacuum suck 3 million, free food, drinks, and still getting A's in every class. Amani's not that smart. Something was up. And they kept smashing till 5 months later, they got caught. Now, it was the dumbest reason, fam. Apparently, Judy kept sending Amani naughty pics, and during the holiday, Amani's dumbass must have left his phone unlocked because his mom saw the pics and realized that Judy was his teacher, fam. So his mom went to the school and snitched on him.
Oh, hell no!
So she went to the principal, his parents sat down with Judy and Amani, and after much deliberation, nothing happened. Think about it, G. It makes perfect sense. The school can't go public because as soon as they do, they'll be on the news. And the school's reputation would be gone. The school can't fire Judy because she just snitched. And lastly, they couldn't suspend Amani because technically he's the victim, fam. So it was the perfect crime. So remember, kids, it's okay to be a diddler, but only if you're a woman.